Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Karthik.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon. So we'll just wait for 1 minute and
Okay, sir.
then start.
আমি আজ স্নান করবো না, কালকে করেছি।
কি করছেন মা?
আচ্ছা, হেল্পের দাঁতটা মাজাসনি
কবে?
কালকে না কবে বলো?
কালকে রাত দিন তো মাথা
আসতে গন্ধ তো যখন তেমন না হচ্ছিল না।
তেও মাঝে মাঝে
যখন দু চার দিন পর পর মাজাতিস তখন হচ্ছিল না।
Okay, so I request everyone to open the portal and look at this unit practice test programming. In that we have configured 6 mock questions and we'll be discussing them today one by one. So please open that particular unit and select this first question, OPPE_1 mock 1.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have doubt in mock 1. I have written the code, but it's working. It's working for 0, for O to 0, and it's not working for L to 1.
Okay, right. What we'll do is I will
Sir,
give.
I can copy it to the text chat box.
Yeah. So we look at your code. Just paste it 5 minutes later so that I will give a chance to others to code, and then I'll look at your solution first.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So for those of you who have just joined, please, we'll treat this like some kind of an exam, simulate the exam setting. So you don't use Replit, just go to the portal, click on the practice tests programming unit. Under that unit, you have 6 problems right at the end. Please start solving problem 1. After 5 minutes, we'll discuss the solution.
So how many questions will be there in our OPPE?
That will communicate it via formal announcement.
Okay,
Right.
sir.
So currently we are not sure exactly how many, but we'll let you know.
And sir, we have to do every the coding to the this kind of portal. Like
Yeah,
which
it will
we
be
are
exactly
having.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, but how will check? Like, I used to check it. I work on Visual Studio and then copy paste it to the, because I can't able to understand it properly in this what the errors
Okay.
I'm doing. So, sir, can I check in that case also?
No, unfortunately, you can't switch tabs. You can't switch. You can't move from your browser. In fact, you can't move from your tab itself. So you can't do even this action in the exam. That will be recorded against you. So for the remaining days, only suggestion I have is we have like 3 more days, right? 3-4 more days. So make sure that you practice as many problems as you can on the portal itself. So
because sir, errors are not clear in this portal.
I agree. Yeah. So I agree, but unfortunately, this is what we have. I mean, we can't have Replit or any other editor during the exam, right? So you have to get used to this.
And sir, also in Python, we have time foundations for the code. So sometimes it happens that we make the whole code correct, but we have to look it again and again, because there are some errors or mistakes that we are left behind, and we have to correct it always. So it also takes a lot of time, like in a very particular interval of time, it becomes quite difficult to adjust all these things if I'm working it on the first time.
Correct.
For
So you won't have too many questions.
Yeah.
So that won't be a worry. But to solve all this from your side, right? The best thing you can do is practice on the portal for the remaining days.
Yeah. And so which it will be conducted on Google Meet?
Yeah. So it will be, you'll have to log in via Google Meet, and if you have attended this system compatibility test, it will be similar to that.
Yeah, but so in system compatibility test, we have to open Google Meet both in our phone and laptop. So, and where we will get the like questions and all these things? There's nothing like that in Google Meet.
No.
In
So that
SC.
we will send it to you. So before there will be another mock exam that is held. So that is like proper mock, but with some kind of dummy questions where you will be exposed to what the exact environment is. So all that will be communicated to you in the next few days. So Thursday, most probably Thursday, you will be having this mock exam.
Mark is graded, sir?
No, mock is mock, so it won't be graded.
And so the link for
17th, I think the mock.
So link will be sent to you before the mock. So
no, sir, the link for the OPPE exam, it will be sent before 10-20 minutes, 10 minutes or 5 minutes before.
It will be sent the previous day. So you.
Okay, one day before.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, fine.
How many programs will come, sir, for programming, sir?
The number of programs I can't promise now, because that will be it is we are yet to fix the exact number, but it won't be too many. So
sir, like see, mostly like if you see in our like practice assignments, not practice assignments, the graded assignments. So there we see very big programs actually. So I think it takes time for us to design the program. So based on that thing, it will be designed like will it be a very big program or some kind of?
No, it won't be very big. So it will be like maximum 20 lines of code. I would say only at most 20 lines of code is what you'll have to write.
Okay, so how many? But for you can give a rough estimation, like okay, this many 4 or 5 programs will come and kind of thing.
See, it will be something you can see. I mean, it won't be 15, right? So it won't be like 10 problems. Obviously, we won't ask you to write solve 10 questions in like 1.5 hours. So it will be less than 10. I mean, way less than 10, but I don't want to commit to an exact number right now.
Yeah, actually, sir, why I'm asking this question, because I think for me, I'm taking so much time to write a program, even a single program, sir. So that's the thing I was asking. Okay, how should I prepare actually all these things?
No, right. See, I understand all your questions. This number of questions is a very good question, but if you think about it, it doesn't really matter, right? So either if it is 10 questions or if it is just one question, see, if we just give you one question, then you know that it will be super hard, right? So we won't just give one question. So you will still have to spend 90 minutes to solve that one question. If we give you, let's say, 10 questions, then the time will be appropriately partitioned, right? It won't be 10 very hard questions. It will be maybe 10 very easy questions. So don't worry about the number of questions. So it will be something that you can finish in 90 minutes.
I hope so, sir. I need to, work hard more on this part, because programming is not my cup of tea actually as of now. So I'm trying to adopt this speed and this thing. I'm able to write the program, but it's taking time actually for me. That's the concern for me, sir.
Okay, only suggestion is, see, two suggestions. One is to use the portal from today. If you have not been using the portal so far, you have like 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, right? 4 days. So start from maybe week 1 you can leave, because week 1 is very simple. Weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So you have several questions and maybe also the mocks. So you can solve all of them once again without looking at the solution that is already there. So delete it and try solving them from scratch, and that way what will happen is your typing speed also increase, so that also matters. And I think Professor Sudarshan mentions this in the lectures. So your speed at which you type will increase. Second thing is, for example, if you take up say some things like matrices, right? So creating a or populating a matrix, if you do it 10 times, then say first 3 4 times you may have to think about the logic, but the last 5 times you will just it will directly come from memory. So the next 5 days, the best suggestion is to go through existing problems and make sure you are thorough with them.
Okay, sir.
Sir, GRPAs and PPAs will be more than enough for proctor practicing?
Yeah. So that will be enough. See, you have how many? You have, if you leave out week 1, you will have at least 10 questions per week to practice. So make sure that you practice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So week 7 is anyway refresher. So you have 5 weeks, 50 questions. If you can practice all these 50 PPAs, right, together, that should be good enough preparation.
So how will the CISA app work?
For that, you should have attempted the system compatibility test. I hope you attended that.
Sir,
Yes,
I
yes, I
have
have
attended,
attended.
sir. Actually, sir, I just want to put a concern over here. I have registered earlier, okay, for this particular test, okay. So I given the date of 11th Feb around that time, 566 batch. When I was in the class, I got the link, everything on the calendar. I joined the session, and I came to know like my name, my email ID is not mentioned over there, sir. I was kept waiting for 1 hour. I was talking to the instructor actually. They told like they told like they're talking to the team, but he hasn't got any kind of information, sir, about my email ID. But I still,
it happened with all the teams because there was some mismatch in the assignments, perhaps. The name assigned to the proctor was not proper. So
I am not sure, sir. Like, see, what I mean, see, I joined some other session also. He given me some link for some
So
Google link.
see, I sorry to interrupt, but this SCT, this is not the right forum. So best thing would be to write to support and wait for the response, right? Because this is more of a technical forum, right? So
I'm just afraid like because it might happen, maybe anything happened during the exam time, right? The CISA app or something.
Yeah, so you can write this. Yeah, you can write this concern and mail the support.
So one clarification on the part of CISA app. So we have to run CISA app in the background only, or we need to do something else in that particular app?
No, you just have to start the CISA app and then leave it there.
Okay.
You should make sure that it is working. You get that 200 response, captured image, whatever it says. So you have to make sure that it is working fine. And once it is working fine, you can just leave it as it is.
So I just have to open it and on the background.
And make sure it is running properly. That is all.
Yeah, all the camera thing and all the images are clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, last question.
Sir, I have a question.
Sir.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we don't need a webcam, right?
You need webcam.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, that's my question. So I think sir was asking like we have to use mobile also for the recording also. So in mobile, which application we have to open, sir?
See, these things, I think you got the instruction. You would have got one document, right? So in mobile, you have to log in via Gmeet.
You using Gmeet? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how many questions do we have to solve?
So this you can rewind the session and first few minutes I discussed this. So this is
how many compulsory questions should we solve in all given questions among 10, for example?
No. So see, I think you have mistaken what I said. I never said there will be 10 questions. So I'm saying that it will certainly be less than 10. It won't be as much as 10.
Okay.
So it is not like we'll give you 10 and then you have to pick 4 or pick 5. No. It's not like that. That's why I said. So the number of questions we'll let you know. Don't worry about number of questions, right? So That is
Okay.
not going to affect your preparation.
Okay.
Right? So prepare well and be ready for. I mean, it will be reasonable. Okay, don't worry. So it will be reasonable number of questions. We won't ask you to write big programs. That is not the intention. That so we know that 90 minutes on the portal you have to manage. So all that we know. So it won't be like too many.
And sir, are we going to have extra marks for extra problems we solve?
That is also something we don't know.
Because it was there in last term. I asked my peers. They said that they had 7 questions in total and they have to solve 5 or 4 questions, and the rest of them will be counted as bonus marks.
No, these things keep changing, so we don't. Please don't go by that. There are some advantage in asking your seniors. There are some disadvantages also, right? So things keep changing. Pattern will keep changing. So
our exam will be conducted through Gmeet, but how will code in that particular Gmeet?
we won't code in. You won't code in Gmeet, right? You will code on the portal.
Okay, on the portal. Okay, and the link would be available in our calendar, like as it was for SCT.
Yeah, you will be given the link, so there will be no confusion regarding that. So only thing you have to be sure about is it won't happen in this particular link. It will happen in some other link. Okay, so that link will be shared with you.
Sir, will we be asked to log in before a few minutes before time so that we can set up SIA and run all that before the exam time?
You have to log in before. I mean, say 10-15 minutes before the start.
Okay.
Sir, exam interface will be the same as the portal?
Yeah, it will be the same. It will be very similar to this. I mean, identical to this.
So, thank you, sir.
Sir, one last question. Is this the only mock that is going to be released, or another mock will be there?
I am not sure. So it depends on. Currently, it will be so.
Because
for now,
mock is scheduled, I think.
Yeah, that is a different mock. So that mock is for that mock will not have technical questions. So it is more of an operational nature. So it is just to get you introduced to the exam process. So that is the intention of that mock.
So one thing I want to ask. So one last thing, sir. So we have to open CISA app in the background on our laptop, and through Gmeet we have to connect to our phones, and we also have to open Gmeet link on our laptop too.
No, on laptop you don't need to open Gmeet. So Gmeet through phone, so that we are able to monitor your screen, your desk, and everything, and SIA for capturing the screenshot. So
no, sir, they have actually asked us to open Gmeet in the laptop as well, like last time in the
SCT
setup session.
There.
Yeah, that is how webcam will be visible, right?
No. So
no, it's on phone.
See, the webcam is only so webcam is for SIA. Okay, the SIA will take care of taking your screenshot. The logging in through Gmeet is so that we are able to capture your room, right? So where you are writing and is there someone coming in, going out, all those things will be captured through the phone. So you have to join Gmeet through phone. And it doesn't harm if you join Gmeet through computer laptop also, but phone is absolutely important.
Yeah.
So we have to join Gmeet from our phone, and the link would be shared to the calendar on our laptops. And so in our laptop we have to only open 2 applications. That is, one is SIA, and other is we have to open our portal.
Yes.
And so
not,
the link.
Yeah, that are not our portal, but our portal, but that link for that portal will be shared with you.
Okay, in calendar.
I don't know whether it will be in calendar or you will get a mail, but that link you have to open and CI you have to open. Those two things only.
Gmeet would be shared in calendar only.
Yeah, Gmeet will be through calendar. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So what will happen if the?
Just wanted to ask. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sir, one thing is a couple of things. So first thing is done the CSC teacher. After that, I was just wanting to know, you sent a mail because the person told me to send a mail to support or for the team for installing SIA, but SIA, how to install? I have not got any reply mail. So do I simply Google for SIA and download?
So how to download SIA? I think the instructions have been shared, right?
No, sir, I didn't get a mail.
Yeah, the link was shared.
Yeah, so you just need to proceed with that.
Sir, in the CISA application, when it was running, the camera, the laptop camera was on, but that's not sending the pictures. That's what they were explaining.
Yeah, see,
Only the
unfortunately,
phone will be capturing the pictures.
no, phone will not be
CI
capturing
is
the
taking our
pictures.
pictures and the screenshot of the screen.
CI is only capturing your screenshot.
There is a script file running that 200 files are sent to server. That's the message continuously flowing. But when I asked the guy who was testing the CI, he said laptop camera is not sending the picture. That's what he was telling.
No. Laptop camera is only sending the picture, right? So see, the CI application runs on your computer, and that uses the computer's webcam to capture images of you, and it sends these images to some place.
So our speaker is snubbed now. At that time, we cannot speak.
No, you are not supposed to speak. That is part of the exam protocol, but that has nothing to do with CI, right? CI is only for image capturing.
But CI is not letting the mic to on.
Possibly. Then actually you don't need the mic to be on. So
okay.
Yeah.
Mic is not required. No,
The
a speaker is
application
required.
is not running.
Yeah. So sorry. Unfortunately I have to stop this operational queries because we'll just keep going on. And I think most of your questions have been sorted. If you have anything related to CIA, you have to post it to the operational team, right? You have to send a mail to support.
So they asked me to send a mail to exams because whichever email ID from which I got the SAT that mail to the same mail. So I sent the exam. Nothing has come in reply. So I don't have CIA. I don't know. I have not got many mails for last 3-4 days, 4-5 days from.
CIA app link was sent to you, so you just need to download it from there.
No, sir, I don't have that
CI
mail.
is not
It's
running
not sent actually.
in the computer. My computer is incompatible to CIA because this is Windows 8.1.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, I am not the right person to solve this problem, right? So
You can install Ubuntu in the pen drive.
May I say something,
Sir,
sir?
can we run the program during the exam?
Unfortunately, we have to stop here. No more CIA questions because that is not the point of this session, and we'll be too much diverting the core agenda. So, if you have any questions, please use the appropriate forum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, so the syllabus.
Can you request a support team to be available for the students?
That's what we did know. This SCT, the whole point of the system compatibility test was to solve these issues. And if you had joined then that should have.
No. We joined that one. There is absolutely no problem. But CR test was completed. But how are we really going to get an exam environment?
Yeah. That is what the mock is all about, right? So that mock will release you will get an invite for that.
And my CI issue was not solved during CT.
Okay, so yeah, see, unfortunately, no more CR. As I said, I am 25 minutes into the session, and
sir, all 8 weeks will be part of the proctor exam, or
sir, please start the session.
Yeah, so I have to start. So please.
Sir, one final request.
Sir, this is related to the syllabus for the.
No. So
all 8 weeks. Can. So all.
Hello, sir.
Can I ask people doubt?
Hello.
Doubt related to the syllabus for the.
Sir, one question. Can we run the program during the exam?
So no more requests, no more questions regarding what will happen on the day of the exam. We have to continue with the session, right? So
yes, sir. Please continue.
Yeah, right. So yeah, mock 1. We will start looking at it.
Just one thing that not related to CR or anything.
See, 7 weeks, first 7 weeks syllabus, I think we already posted that long time back. Okay. So, what is the, someone wanted to share their code, right? So you can probably share.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, not related to SIA, but what I wanted to ask is, can you like ask the support team to arrange one session on these questions which are addressed before?
I think mock test is for that
Yeah.
reason.
So the mock test we'll announce and we will get to that.
So that we will be able to ask all these questions.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Let us start, sir. It is better to start.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Sir, am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, you are allowed to speak about anything regarding this particular problem.
No, sir. Actually, I'm having some specific problem. I'm suffering from alexia, and I'm suffering along with it. I'm suffering from clinical depression. So, is it necessary to give the OPPE exam?
I'm sorry. So this is I am certainly not the right person to respond to you. Can you write to support? They'll be best people to respond to you.
Okay, sir. And what is the weightage for OPPE exam? Could you please tell me?
Same thing. So there is a document that has these details. You can refer to them, right? So
You should attend at least one exam out of two for end exam.
Okay. When is the last OPPE exam?
Yeah. So Jasmeet, right? You are?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, there is a document that is there here. You can refer to that. So there is a course introduction, general instructions. This orientation. Okay, this has orientation. There is a view the grading document for current term, right? So you can see this.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and that will tell you what you want to know. And for your specific problem, please contact the support.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
I have shared the code in the chat box.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. All right. So, what we are asked to do is the keys 0 and 1 are not working. So, what this operator has done is instead of the key 1, he's using letter L, and instead of key 0, he's using the letter O. Right? So, you have to accept this 10-digit number and find the number of places where this replacement is there. And if it is not there, you have to print that there are no mistakes. If there are replacements, you have to print how many such replacements are there and then print the correct phone number subsequently. Okay, so let's look at.
So in my code,
Yeah.
O is replaced with 0. I'm getting the new number with the replacement of O with 0. But L is not replaced with 1. However, I have written same code for both the things to replace.
Okay, can I explain in this point? I have seen her code.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually the replace will come and replace only the first instance of L. So your first instance of L will be replaced with 1. The second instance, for the second instance to change, you have to run the code again. So you should use the for loop for that scenario.
Not necessarily, right? So a replace will replace all occurrences. It won't replace just the first occurrence.
Oh, I thought it was first occurrence.
I think, sir,
bit strong in a JavaScript. So in JavaScript, it was replaced only the first occurrence. So I thought the same logics over here.
Only if you give an argument like 1, 2, 3, then 1 means the third argument 1 means, then it will replace only once. If you write 2 after 0, then it will replace twice.
So by default, it replaces all arguments. So see, what you are doing is you are not replacing the same string again, right? So you lose track of what X is. Do you get that point?
No, sir.
You have to write n equal to n dot replace.
Yeah, that we could do that, or I would say that is also dangerous here. See, I'll just reformat this. Okay. See, what you're doing is you're replacing L with 1, right?
Yes, sir.
After that, so you are not updating X, right? So it's some variable you are naming it as X, where all the L's have been replaced by 1. But in the next iteration of the loop, let's say you come across O, right? And you don't replace X, the O's in X with 0, right? You go back to N. You get the point. See, N is all the L's in N you are replacing with 1, and then in a separate block you are replacing all the O's with 0. So where are you actually updating the string?
Actually, what I was doing, what I was understanding from this code, so I thought like I have to replace L with 1 in N, and then I will store that value in X, and then X will take the updated value when L is replaced with 1, and then I am replacing again O with 0 in N, and then I'm also storing that that output in X.
Okay, see, I'll just go here. Let's say N is 1 0, okay, 2 0 LL 4 5 O O, right? So this is what we are replacing L with 1 and okay. So I'll replace L with 1, right? So I need to replace L with 1.
Yes.
So if you run it now, your L's have been replaced with 1s, right?
Yes.
Now, if I call N, if I write the same thing again, but change it to O with 0, what do you expect X will be now? If I print X, what do you think X will be?
So L will be the same, but O will be 0.
Yeah, L will be the same. So you never replace.
Okay, the updated value is stored in X, and the updated value is replace O with 0 Yeah.
No, that's not happening. Can I answer this question actually? Can you go back to the code once? Yeah, see, when you are using for loop, right? So the last value I is taking is the last occurrence of L or O, right? So X is only updating the last value of L.
But where it is like last occurrence, I didn't understand.
No, see, it's not the last occurrence or first occurrence, right? So you have to see the way to fix this. So probably if you fix this, you will see what's happening. You say that y equal to n, right? So and you have to update. See, you have to update the same variable, right? You can't update n and call it x, and then assume that this update that you made will persist across the iterations.
Sir, if you can check write any O or L, right? Only the last occurrence of I or O, only those last occurrence will enter the loop, right? If the condition statement, if or elif, right? And only the last, either 1 will be replaced or 0 will be replaced.
Okay, so see,
you can check the output.
See, you don't need a first of all
for loop, correct? Just remove the for loop first.
See, first of all, I would say, let's look at it this way, right? You don't need a loop for this.
Correct.
Right? So you don't need a loop for this. You can just say n dot replace. So you can use something other than.
We'll just remove the loop and conditional statement. So y equals to y dot replace L comma 1 and y equals to y dot replace 2 comma 0. That's it.
Yeah.
So now I understand and all my cases are passed. You mean to say here, like we are replacing this L with 1 in Y, where initially Y is N. So
right.
Now the updated value will go to Y, where we have replaced L with 1. And now this Y, in this Y only, not the other thing. I was doing like, I was replacing this thing I'm storing it into the other variable, and then I'm going to the other variable and replacing the thing O with 0.
Right.
And now in
Exactly.
the same variable, I have to replace this O with 0. Then I'll store it in the same variable. And
Yeah.
print
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So before we move on, I'll just.
Can you run this code?
Yeah. Oh, this has. We are printing. We're not printing white. Yeah, so this is correct. I'll just suggest few modifications, right? So one modification is you don't need the loop, right? Because of the way replace behaves, I can just say that what I can do is I can count. See, I can just count the number of times L occurs, right? So the count will be now number of times L occurs and the number of times O occurs, right? So that is my count. And I would not call it n because n is typically reserved for numbers, right? So let's call it okay, it's a number. Okay, n is fine. Yeah, n is a fair enough variable name. So this is the count, and if you want the correct string, then you replace all the L's with ones, and you replace all the O's with zeros, and then you can go ahead and print the correct string.
No, this next statement would have row number 4 should have been n underscore correct dot replace.
Yeah, it should be n underscore correct. That is correct. So
one thing I want to ask. So
yeah.
in OPPE, are we getting the chance to test run?
Yeah, it will be similar to this. You can do the test run.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so this is if you are going to use string methods such as what do you call count and replace, then you don't need a loop.
Okay. So will we have access to a terminal during the exam?
No, you won't.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, actually, in week 2 we have some 20 or 25 functions. Do we have to mug up all functions?
No, you should not mug up even a single function. You won't have to mug up.
Actually, there is too many functions. We need to know the syntaxes, right? For example, east lower, east upper, R strip, L strip.
No. You don't need all those. So, for example, this question itself. So let's look at one more solution. So you accept the number n as input. Let's solve it without using this part 8 to 12. Let us not disturb it. So what I will do typically is I'll go character by character. Okay, I'll go character by character. And if this character happens to be L, then I know that I have made a mistake. So I'll increment count, right? And I'll keep building a new string along the way. So what I'll do is I will add, instead of L, what should I add? I should add 1, right? So else if the character is O, then I have again made a mistake. So I will now add 0 to it, right? Else I have not made any mistake, so I don't need to increment count. So my correct will just be the character itself, right? I don't need to make any changes.
Without the functions, we can write with our logics.
Mostly. So you can, right? Once again, I'll just fix this. There is an error that I made. Let us make sure that this also works, and then we.
But sir, what if I have mistaken only once? If I have only one mistake, then it will print one mistakes. It will not print one mistake.
Yeah. So that is true.
Is this an error?
No. This is by default. Where is it? Yeah, that is unfortunately how I have designed it. So you don't need to worry about that too much. Right?
Can you explain line number 7? What is line number 7?
Line number 7 is incrementing count.
Oh, no, sorry, line number 8. Line number 8.
You are making this, you are building this correct string, right? So if your mistake is L, you need to throw that L out and add 1 in its place. Right, so that's the point of the question, right? Okay, any questions? Yeah, so coming back to the string methods, right? So you don't need to memorize all string methods. I would say useful string methods you can memorize. Like useful string methods would be upper, lower, and all are not very useful, at least for the exam point of view. You can split is very important. So split you have to memorize. Split without split you will find life very hard. So make sure you memorize memorize may be a bad word. Make sure you know how split works, and see count.
So will we have this?
Are good methods. So you could learn. Make sure that you know. See, these three are like quite powerful, I would say.
So just one question. In the coding interface, in the test, that is in the Proctored one. So autocomplete, the ID will have autocomplete. Is it like when you press the dot, when you call, it will call the methods, we can select from them.
This portal does this portal have autocomplete?
I think I'm not sure. This one.
No, sir.
Then the exam also will not have autocomplete. See, same portal. We are not nothing different. This is like you will just like solving your PPA and GRPA. If you have been doing everything on Replit, then you will find it a bit difficult. That's why I suggested practice on the portal, at least for next few days. Yeah, so split, count, replace are quite decent.
So we have to learn these strings, how to like write these.
How to write what?
We have to run these learn these functions, or
it is good to know these methods, right? It's good to know these methods.
Okay.
I would add one more. So it's good to know strip method also. What else? Split, count, index, right? Index is also important. Index is useful. Okay, so index is also useful. So these 5 R strip, L strip, and all you don't need to know. Okay, so split, count, replace, strip, index. These are like good enough for the exam and for later on also.
Sir, what is a strip?
It removes white spaces. I mean, it removes other things also, but I don't worry too much about strip, right? I just for completion I added, but you don't really need it.
Basically, it
removes strip only removes the characters, or it will remove the integers or float values also.
No, it removes blank spaces.
So strip removes what you ask it to remove. So leave it for now, right? So 4 we'll come back to it. In week 9 we'll use strip extensively. But until then, I think you don't need to worry about it.
So, but default
difficulty level would be same.
Sir, in matrices.
Okay, so too many questions. What we'll do is we are running out of time. I will take only questions which are specific to the problem you are solving, right? So, does anyone have any confusion in this solution to the problem?
So, why we are counting?
Sir, I have written the code in the chat. It doesn't change L to 1. It's just a small error. Can you please correct it?
I will look into that. But with the current solution, does anyone have any problem before I delete this?
Sir,
I'm confused again for line number 8. So it's line number 8 is an n correct is an empty string, right? Then you're adding 1 to an empty string, and then you're adding 0 to an empty string. So you're concatenating 1 and 0 to n underscore correct, right?
Correct, yeah.
So, but when you print n correct, it's gonna be only 1 0, right? It's not gonna print all the numbers.
You are missing out line 30.
Yeah.
Else n correct.
Okay, so you're adding, see, by default, If it is not L or O, you are adding the character anyway. Whatever character is there in N, you are adding it. Okay.
Okay. But how we are removing, you're not replacing L with 1, but L's gonna be there.
I'm not replacing. So this solution works like this. So the solution's logic is construct a new string, one character at a time. This is the logic, right? So how will I construct a new string one character at a time? By default, I will add whatever character is present in N. So for example, if N is 97, so 987 L O L534, right? So this is the string. Then for 987, I'll just append it to my new string. These two if conditions I won't enter, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you come to L, only in that case I have to replace it with 1. Whenever you encounter 0 or rather O, only for that you have to replace it with. So it's not replacing. Okay, replace is not the correct word. You are building it from scratch.
Okay, so when it comes to L, you say N correct plus equal 1. So it's gonna add 1 after L, right? It's not gonna remove L.
No, that's what I said. So you see, let me.
We are not even adding the L in the first place. We are just creating a new list and we are only adding 1 when there is an L. So there is nothing like it.
We are, let me print N correct at every stage of the iteration. Then, so see, N correct is constructed this way. So it is. Apparently this has no mistakes. So let me take something which has, okay, this I have to copy. So if you run this, notice that I am building the string N correct character by character. Initially it is 9, then it is 98, then it is 987, then it is 987O in the original string. Instead of O, I add 0. So I don't add O and 0.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I hope.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I hope everyone has got this solution. Okay, now someone was asking me to check some other solution. Where is that? Shreya, right?
So my code is also not.
Yeah, we'll come to your code also. I will finish this code and. Okay, so it's the same problem that we were discussing earlier, right? You see, you are replacing all the L's with ones in N and you are storing it in X. Okay. Now you are replacing O's with zeros and again storing it in X. So you're overwriting X, right? See this. You have to understand this concept of in place methods, right? See, when you say N dot replace, N is not changed. N remains the same. You can never change N, right? So strings are immutable, meaning you can't replace a character in the same string that you are operating on. So when you run something like this, you produce a new string X. And then you have to say X dot replace and not N dot replace. Do you get the difference between these two things?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a common mistake, and in the exam, please be aware of this. When you simply say N dot replace, it won't replace anything in N because that doesn't work. Strings do not work that way. So
but the new N equals N dot replace.
That will work. Yeah, you can do that. N equal to N dot replace will work. This will work.
Then
okay, sir.
When we will print N, then it will print the correct.
Yeah, it will print the correct one. It will print the correct one.
Okay, we are changing the original string, right?
Yeah. Here we are changing. Okay, so we are changing the original string, but we are like completely changing it into a new string. So it's no longer the old one. You're not operating on the old string.
Old string is not there.
Okay, so someone else was also asking me. So who else has a problem with this problem?
So my code was also not replacing
Soham,
I.
huh? Soham, huh?
L, sorry, L.
Okay, 1 second. We'll look into that. Let's see. Okay, this is corrected.
In the previous example, when we did n.n replace, and at
Yeah.
one end we are saying that strings are immutable. So how is it working here? Is it like in the memory the original variable is getting deleted, a new variable is getting created at a new memory place? That's how is it?
Yeah, exactly. So when you say n equal to n dot replace, you are creating a new string altogether.
Okay, so it is getting into a temporary location. From there the replacement is happening and a new variable n is getting created. From therein it is getting stored.
Yeah, it's a new variable, it's a new object, but with the, so you're calling it n again, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so why is this not okay? Again, see, these are all variations on the same theme, right? You need to understand how strings work, right? So here if you remember the first code, I think Srishti or someone shared, it was the same code. So you should not do, this won't work, right? For the very reason that you are not updating the string anywhere.
Okay, sir.
Right? So you have to, if you want to go the loop way, you have to say set this as y, and you have to do y equal to y dot replace, and then you have to update the same string again.
Okay, sir.
Right? So now it will, of course, you have to change this corrected into y and all that, but so please be aware of how strings work, right? That is important. Okay, so anyone else has any questions? If not, we'll move on to mock 2.
Will you please test this code?
Yeah. See, when in the exam, if you get this message, right, don't click refresh button. Okay, so this is again a piece of hint that will help you in the exam. Don't click refresh, because if you click refresh, you will have to log in again, and sometimes whatever progress you make will be lost. So just click the back button. Okay, that way your code will be there. Whatever code you type will be there. I hope you all got that part.
The same.
Sir, can you show it again, like
No,
instead of refreshing?
You have to click the back button. That's all. Back.
So I have a basic
Okay,
doubt
sir.
here. So here basic doubt, sir. Actually, the problem statement says that if a person enters L for 1 and O for 0, right?
L for
1 and 0 for O for 0.
Yeah.
So why should we actually, I mean, it should be taken that there is no need for us to check now whether to replace this. It's assumed that they have entered L and 0. We'll just have to make a count of them and then complete it, right? Why should the replace happen?
I am sorry, I didn't get the question.
So what I'm saying is, in the question, it's given
we have
that
asked to give the correct number also. That is also part of the question.
no, that will be given by count itself. No? Actually, what I'm saying is, sir, in the question, it's given that since the data entry operator knows that 1 and 0 are very unpredictable, so he is entering L for 1 and O for 0. Okay.
Okay.
Hello? So it is taken that the person is always using L or O. He's not using 1 or 0, L or O. So what we have to do is we have to only go for count of L and O. Why are we doing all this replace and all? You're not using any 0 or 1, right?
You have to print the correct string, right? Correct 10-digit number. You have been asked to print the correct phone number, so you have to replace.
Okay. After there's also print the correct. So print the correct phone number. So if it was not there, then we don't have to do all these things, right?
Yeah, that will make it a very boring question. So this replace is where most of us made a mistake, right? So that is where the catch is. So you have to do this replacement.
Yes, sir. But the replace will automatically take care of replacing all the instances.
Yeah. Replace will replace everything.
Okay, we have print the mistake or not, and then finally we have to print the number. I think I missed that statement. So we need to print the exact number, correct number also.
Yeah. So this one suggestion, don't rely too much on methods. Okay, see, because I'll just show you one example where these methods work differently. For example, if you have a string, the string is let's say 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, right? And let's say I have a list 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. Okay, so s dot replace 0 with say 5. Okay, I'm replacing zeros with 5s. And if I print this, we all know what the answer will be. Everything gets replaced. Now, for example, I run something similar but not the same. I remove zeros from L. Okay, and now I print L. Notice that only 1 0, leftmost 0 has only been removed.
So if you make it as L is a string of numbers.
That's not my point. My point is to show to warn you that if you rely too much on methods, you'll have to remember a lot of tiny details, right? For example, s dot replaces everything, but L dot remove removes only leftmost occurrence. Well, this is interesting, but if you are
if we have this, so if we try this with single quotes for within the list, also will the remove?
No. See. That's not my point. Is not. See, I think you didn't get my point. My point is don't rely too much on methods. Is what it's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I got it.
Is there a method to remove all the zeros, sir?
Perhaps there is some argument. So if you look at, if you ask Python for help, I think it only removes the first occurrence. I don't know if it removes all occurrences.
Sir, we can replace by space. S dot replace 0 by space.
Remove
0 comma. Because one more argument.
The method,
empty argument, sir. We can take it.
Sorry?
Sir, in print s dot replace 0 comma empty argument, sir. It taking 2 argument, replace taking 2 argument. If remove 5, then it can, sir, we can remove all 0.
Yeah, you are right. So if you want to remove, then yes. Right, you are right, yeah. But so this, okay, not my point. My point is to tell you that methods work differently, right? So, and you must know the nitty-gritties of these things if you want to use them.
Replace method will work only for one argument at a time.
Sir, we can move on next question.
If you want to replace 2 characters at a time, replace function cannot be used.
No, that also will work, right? I mean, you can replace a substring, for example. You can replace all 0 zeros.
No, to separate 2, 0 and 1. Suppose we want to replace 0.
Yeah.
Will it work?
No, I don't think so. I think it removes this substring. So you can try. In this case, it will remove, but it will end up removing.
No, not like that, sir. Not like 0, comma
and 1. Right. No.
No, it will not work.
Yeah.
Only one character or only one thing.
Yeah, it removes substrings, right?
Only one substring.
Yeah. So I mean, we have to move on because we have done one question in 1 hour, which is like a bad record. So just please take 2 minutes. This question should only take 2 minutes, and we'll discuss the solution.
Sir, in the due time, I would like to ask a question. It's very important.
Question number, sir, sorry.
The next question.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. What I was asking is, sir, I couldn't even open the dashboard a long time. I just went to the quiz, plugged my answers in the quiz 1 and came back. And I have my OPPE in the Sunday. So how should I prepare for it? I have not even went through with any week syllabus or the content yet.
You have to practice the problems on the portal. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. That is.
Sir, I have not yet gone through any week's content yet. I just went to the quiz, plucked the answers, and came back. I was busy through these days. I will be getting 2-3 days time before my OPPE. So in that 2-3 days time, how should I prepare completely for OPPE?
You have to go problem by problem. I don't think there is any other way. I don't see any other way. You'll have to go problem week by week, problem by problem, and yeah, that's the only way.
Sir, four test cases passing in my code.
Yeah, so we'll discuss just 2 minutes. Let others do.
So in this code for this OPPE mock 2, so this code is my code is running, but it is always showing right heavy for all the cases, whether it was left heavy or balanced.
Okay, so you and who else? Someone else also had a problem. Who had a problem?
Sir, I have.
Okay, so we'll first start with Deependra. Deependra, right?
Yes, sir.
And then Srishti. You please post your code in this order, and then we'll take them one by one.
Sir, I have posted.
Okay, yeah, just 2 minutes. Let others also do so that we'll continue from there.
So I have also posted.
Yeah.
So can we expect the difficulty level will be similar to mock?
See, again, I'm telling you this. These are typical questions that you asked before an exam, right? So I can understand, but honestly, they won't help you, right? We have been doing this Python course for 3 terms now. It's extremely hard to judge the difficulty of a question. Even now I'm struggling. I don't know what is difficult, what is easy, what is medium. So just be well prepared, right? And prepare to the best extent possible. And then whether it's easy, medium, hard, it's not under your control, right? So you tell me one thing, RVS, right? Who asked me?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me how you will tailor your preparation based on, say, let's say I say that it will be very easy. Okay, I mean, I may be totally wrong, right? So how will you tailor your preparation based on my response?
Actually, it is difficult to say.
It's difficult to say, right? I mean, it's like correct. That's the correct response. So, which is meaning what I mean is that your preparation will not be any different, is what I'm saying. Whether I say easy or medium or hard, it's subjective, right? I mean, for some of you it may be very easy. For some of you it may be very hard. But eventually it will become easy for all of you. That much I can promise. By the end of the course and maybe 2-3 months after the course, you will know enough Python, and when you look back at these problems, they'll all look very trivial. So that is the goal that we want to attain, right? So prepare as well as you can, and then leave it to either God or luck, depending on what you believe in.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I am learning this course on Python for the very first time, and I do not have any computer background. So, is there any piece of advice from your side that will help me in this very particular course?
For Python, same advice, suggestion that is given in any other course, right? You have to practice. I mean, it may seem very cliche, but you have to practice. Keep writing the same problems again and again, and until you reach a stage where it becomes part of your muscle memory. So, for example, I'll show you one instance. So you have to create a zero matrix. Okay, you have to create a n by n matrix of size 0. So, I mean, I am so used to writing this. I'm not very intelligent or smart or nothing like that. I am so used to writing this that, see, I'll just watch what I do. This is just a matter of practice. Okay, so that is a zero matrix of size n cross n. Okay, so this is how fast you have to become, and this has nothing to do with how smart you are or how much you know about Python or how much background you have. Nothing. It's just about practice.
But sir, here, why have you written this m of -1 dot append 0?
Okay, so that is a particular way of writing. So this is I'm appending an empty list, right? So that will correspond to row I. So
Yes.
you can as well write it as I if that is confusing.
Yeah.
It's the same. See, the whole point is you have to reach this stage. How do you reach this stage? You have to keep practicing. How do you create a zero matrix, say 10 times? I think professor also mentioned this. So you have to identify these key pieces, right? So for example, zero matrix will keep occurring throughout all problems associated with matrices. And how do you process a sequence of elements? You can simply do this input dot split off, right? So this should be like 5 seconds. You should not even think about this. In the exam, if you're given a sequence of numbers, you must not even think about how do I convert it into a list and all that. Just directly input dot split, comma, right? You must have written this piece of you must have written line 3 so many times that it becomes second nature to you, right? So you don't think, for example, I don't think when I write this line, right? I don't consciously think, and I'm sure that all of you can do the same thing. You must reach a stage where there are certain things about which you are not conscious of, right? That is the level that you have to reach, and I'm sure you can reach it only by practice, right? You have to practice the same thing repeatedly, even if it is boring.
Okay,
but there's no shortcut, right? So you can't do it in 2-3 days. So you'll have to.
I had a suggestion that even after the deadline, the GRPA should be open. In that way, we can actually practice on portal. Otherwise, we have to move to other ID and then do that question.
Correct. So that is.
Yes, sir. Please do consider.
Anyways, actually, the scores will be taken, right?
No. Yeah. See, that
please,
is
we have
true.
another session of math too.
It is kind of tough, right? So this is we have to work on this, right? So our team of developers, we have to work on this, and it will take time. Unfortunately, now may not happen, but we'll see what can be done, right?
Yes, sir. As soon as possible, it must be done, sir.
All right. So now let's move to problem 2. Two of you share the code, right? So I'll just look at. Okay. So there was someone who wanted to share the code first, right?
Yes, sir. I am.
Deependra. Yeah, Deependra, where is it?
Sir, it's on 3 p.m.
3 p.m. 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, what is the problem? The problem is you have even number of elements in the sequence and sum of left off, sum of right off, right? And yeah, so you have to find out okay. So see, Deependra, I'll ask
Yes,
you one
sir.
question, right? So see, let's say you are debugging this in the exam on Sunday. Okay, let's say you are debugging this. Okay. By the way, this doesn't pass all test cases, right?
Yes, sir. It's a passing 4.
Okay. So it's passing 4, right? I'll just confirm that. Okay. So I want you to answer this. So let's think through this, right? So you are debugging this. Do you think there could be any error in line 1? And just tell me, like, I mean, you can, it's okay to be wrong now. Do you think there is any error with line 1 or line 2 that you have written?
Yeah, a split method.
Sorry?
No, sir, I don't think there is any error.
Okay, there is no error, right? So I also don't see any error. Line 3 also seems reasonable. Okay,
Yes,
let's cut to, so there is something happening here. Let me skip these parts for now. But assuming, see, your hope is that LH is left off, RH is right off, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you think that there could be any error in these lines?
No, sir. There shouldn't.
Okay. So what about this?
No, sir.
There's no error here, right? So there is clearly, okay, this at least we can clearly say that SR is what? Some right, less, then it's right heavy, some left heavy. If they are equal, they are balanced. So you have now removed this part. So you are sure that this is error free. Okay, so let's say this is error free. Okay, so likewise, you are just accepting input. So this is also error free. So what are your potential zones of error? This also seems to be error free. You're just initializing here. Okay, so I mean, you don't need to write error free every time. You could just have comments here, empty comments. So let's say empty comment, anything within the empty comment is error free. So this is error free, this is error free. Okay, which leaves us with these two for loops. So if something is going wrong, it's possibly in these two for loops. Okay, so let's look at this for loop. So what are you doing in this for loop?
Sir, I am removing commas.
You are removing commas, okay. So is that correct? 0 and then 2 and then 4. Okay, this seems to be correct. So let's extend the error free zone to this. Okay, so my error free zone is now like this. Okay. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe this is where the error is. So do you see why this could be an error?
No, sir.
Okay, this error was made in the previous term also. So let's. Okay, so what have we given? What is the sequence? Sequence is of integers, right? How do you know that they are all single digit? See, what is the logic you have used for these commas? Every second character is a comma, right? That is the logic you have used.
Yes,
correct. Sir. But how do you know that all the numbers are single digit numbers?
Oh, sir, it may be double digit number. Then I will not able to remove all commas.
Right. So that is where you are going wrong here. So whenever it comes to sequences, don't use strings, right? Especially if you have sequence of integers, just use a list of integers.
Yes,
Convert
sir,
it into a list.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I got it.
Okay, so anyone else? Yeah, Shrishti, you had shared the code, right? So I'll look at that next, and then we'll go to someone else. Where is your code?
So it's at 3.1.
3.1, huh? 3.1, I have many of them.
So I have posted it to you directly.
Okay. Can you post it again? Because I'm unable to locate it.
So if I may ask, is this the way how debugging is done? Like we to hashtags and like comment the sections where the code is correct and
no. So this is just like, I mean, I never do it this way. But I just thought, I mean, the thought occurred to me that you could do it this way also. Like you could isolate parts of the code which are error free and concentrate on only those parts. See, maybe you don't do it explicitly like this, but
yes, so we just go line by line and see if there's a
right. So this might be one approach. I mean, if you are comfortable, you could follow this where see, certain things you know for sure, right? I mean, if you go in a non-linear way, right, not line by line, for example, lines 11 to 16 do not seem to have any error, right? So it's just simple if-else statements. So I am hoping that there won't be any error here. So I won't worry about this that much, right? So that is just one approach anyway.
So I have posted it into the chat box.
Okay, this is the latest. This is your code, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it is saying write heavy for everything, huh?
Yes, sir.
Which means your right sum is always greater than your left sum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, why is your right sum always greater than your left sum? That is the question we need to ask.
Yes, sir. So it's always for left heavy also. It's always printing right heavy.
So how are we moving along with the number across the numbers? I mean,
Sir,
we have to pick up the
it is
numbers,
like
right?
int of
We are
I,
not
but it
taking-
should be int of L of I, right? N of I.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that is the error. Okay.
Sir, you first convert into list, no, sir.
Yeah, so it should be int of L of I. So you're only converting the index into integer. You are not accessing the element in the list. Did you get the error?
No, sir. Can you explain it once more?
See, you are converting the index and not the element of the list into integer. Should be L of I.
L of I.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, and another suggestion is to always use capital letter for lists and matrices. So that is okay. And
So actually, I have not introduced smaller as a list.
Okay.
I've just stored it like converting it len of n by 2 into integer, and then I've just stored the integral part.
Okay. Oh, okay. I mistook that L is a list.
Here n is the list. N is the list and L is just integer.
Okay. Yeah. N is the list. Okay.
So line number 10 for loop, it should not be +1 in int of L +1.
Yeah. Once again, n is what? Sequence, right? So the sequence is.
So can I explain my point of view towards this code?
Yeah, that will be better.
Yes, sir. So what I have just okay. So this n of n equals to input dot split is using the split function and ignoring all the commas in between. And then L equals to int len of n by 2 means what is the length, whatever is the length, I've divided into the two parts and then I've converted it into the integer. And then I've initialized left sum and right sum as 0. And for I in range 0 to int of L means suppose my n is some six numbers which have been separated with comma, and then int of L would be like it would be like 3 from 0 to 3. Then I would take the value 0, 1, 2. That is the first 3. And then left sum would be like left sum plus left sum equals to left sum plus int of I. Okay, and then for j in range int of L plus I, now int of L plus I means like we have to take the third number. Sorry, the fourth one. So for int of L was my third value.
There should be L of I, sir.
One second. Yeah, sorry, there was some other disturbance. Yeah.
Sir, left sum plus or minus equal to int of L of I, right? Int of I.
No, yeah. So yeah, I got the general idea what you're trying to do. See, we'll go line by line now.
Yeah.
N equal to this is fine. L, you want the length, right? So you don't need the int first, right? Because length itself is an integer. So you don't, okay, you want to make sure it's an integer. Okay, I get. So what you can do is instead of doing int of length of n by 2, you can just do this, right? So the length of n is going to be even. So you're just, if it is something like 8, let's say length of n is 8, then this will be 8 by 2, which is 4. Okay, so you can get rid of the int part by using floor division. So now you have L equal to 4. Okay, left sum, right sum is not a problem.
Length of input can be odd number also.
It is given, right? In the problem, you have sequence of even length.
No, given even input is given, sir.
Okay,
so why are we using this floor division thing in between? We can also use this ln of L divided by 2.
Yeah, but you will end up having that as a float value.
2.0 it will come, or 4.0.
That's why, sir, I have used int part there.
Correct. Yeah, you are right. So that can also be used, but you are essentially doing this float division. So you could directly use float division by 2. That reduces the number of characters you type.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now you are going through. You want to go through the elements in n, right?
Yeah.
But where is n here? You have not used the list at all here, right? Where is the list?
I'm not going through n here. So what I have done is for I in range 0 to int of L is the first half, and for j in range int of L plus 1 to len of n plus 1 is the second half.
Correct. I mean, okay, second half we'll come to that, but even in the first half, you have to add the elements in the list, right? Elements in the sequence.
Yeah.
So where is your sequence in this? Your sequence is given by n, right? Your sequence is missing from this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you have to do is, you can again get rid of the int part. Left sum equal to int of n of I, right?
Yes, sir.
Likewise, see, if there are 8 elements, L equal to 4, right? So this part is correct. So 0, 1, 2, 3 will be the first half. What will be the second half?
Do we need on row number 11 again int? Because at row number 1 we have already, okay, that is only input. So therein, had we put it as an int at row number 1, could we have done it
That won't work, right? Because you can only split a string. You can't split a number, integer.
Okay.
Okay, second half will be what? 4, 5, 6, 7.
So here L will be 4. No? Then
yeah, so L is already 4. So you don't need to do L plus 1. So you can start from L, and you don't need to do length of n plus 1, right? Length of n is enough. And again, you have to do n of j, and maybe you don't even need to do j. I mean, you can still call it I. You don't need a separate new loop variable. You can just call it I.
So like for I in range 0 to L means I takes the value 0, 1, 2, 3. And then we are again starting from L. Then are we taking like 3 here also, or starting from 4? I didn't understand.
Yeah, starting from L, right? L is 4. You start from 4 L, right? So you will be starting from 4. So 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Okay, so let's first run this and see if this is correct. All right, so this is one way of writing it. And I mean, yeah, this is one solution, right? I hope all of you got what is happening here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Yeah, so let me look at some other solution. Pranab Sharma. Yes. Just look at Pranab's solution and see how it is. Okay, so this is Pranab's solution that I'm sharing. Again, looks similar. So he has split the numbers based on comma and stored it in numbers. Left sum, right sum are initialized. Okay, and instead of using a separate variable, he has used this directly, right, which is also fine. But essentially, it's the same approach. Okay, so I think we have to move on to mock 3. Okay, mock 3 is super big problem. So please take 5 minutes and try to solve this.
Sir, I'll post my solution for mock 3, sir. Can you please check where I'm
Sir,
going
can you check
wrong?
my 2 seconds, sir?
Yeah, we'll do that. So just 5 minutes and then we'll discuss.
I'm also getting 3 out
Sir,
of 5.
I'll just post the solution, sir.
Yeah.
So for a second, can you show the second, the previous problem, sir? I just want to.
Yeah, 1 second. So two of you wanted me to look at it, right? So
Yes,
So me
sir.
too, sir. My second solution.
yeah, so 1 second. For problem 3, Saktivel Priyadarshini, right? So you two wanted to look at
Yes,
the
sir.
solution.
I'll just type. I'll just send it,
Okay,
sir.
so
So I
we'll
will
look
ping you
at,
in private.
yeah, in 5 minutes we look into that. So for previous question, who wants to discuss that?
So can you check mine? I don't know what's the error. I've done exactly the same thing.
See the
Rishabh.
solutions, sir. Can you scroll to the solution?
1 second. So Rishabh, okay, some left, some right, value, length of check by 2.
But ignore the value and value 2.
Okay, some left, some right, some left. So some left is greater than some right. It's left heavy, right?
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the only thing.
So can you please check this third one?
Third one, yeah. So third one, we'll just take some 5 minutes. Let others also attempt it so that they get an idea of what the third question is about, and then we'll discuss. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. So please stay on the call. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And then we'll discuss the third problem.
Anyone got fourth one?
Okay, so we are given a square matrix, right? So we are given a square matrix, and we have to determine if it is diagonal, scalar, or identity. Okay, so I hope you know what the difference between these three are. Okay, so let us look at two pieces of code, or maybe three, depending on how much time we have. So one piece of code I'm showing.
First one, please check, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your code.
Yeah.
Where is the dictionary? I'm sorry, where is the? This, I suppose this is going inside the function, right?
Yeah, this is not indented properly, so yeah.
Okay, so I am back. Yeah. Okay, so do you let me run through this. So you are
It's passing only one test.
okay. This is not intended, is it? So this all I suppose has to go back, right? And this also has to go back.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is the size of the matrix. You are initializing the size of the matrix. This is fine. And then you have three flags. I suppose this is for diagonal, scalar, and
Yeah, right, sir.
non-diagonal. Okay, or identity. Okay. So for I in range of n, for j in range of n, this is standard matrix stuff. And now you are looking at
first the diagonal condition.
Okay, you are looking at non-diagonals, right? This is I not equal to j means non-diagonal entries. Correct?
But
I
diagonal is given as diagonal is other I not equal to j and mij is equal to 0. That is for diagonal.
Diagonal will be I double equal to j. Right? That is what diagonal is, right?
Okay.
So you're looking at, okay, so this is right. You're looking at non-diagonal entries and you want the non-diagonal entries to be 0 for a diagonal matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at non-diagonal entries and if they are all 0, then you are going inside. Okay, so see, this doesn't make sense, right? If you think about it, you are saying I not equal to j, and then when you go in, how will I be equal to j?
This is the first condition it's checking, sir. Next, it is checking this condition because if is indented inside if now.
Correct, but see, if I not equal to j, then when I come inside this if block, how will I be equal to j? This will always be false, right? No matter what I have here, I will never be equal to j, right?
Okay, right.
So this is the problem with all the blocks.
Yeah, right, sir. Got
okay.
it.
All right. So you please work on this and we can discuss that.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I have a query regarding this question. Sir,
okay.
When they ask you in the middle paragraph, it should print one of these string, diagonal, scalar, identity, and non-diagonal, right? So all of them are not mutually exclusive, right? That's a problem I am facing because our diagonal matrix can be scalar and identity.
Yeah, that's why he said we are saying this. We are adding this line that the type that you output should be the most appropriate one for the given matrix.
Okay.
Meaning, so if a matrix is scalar, it is also diagonal. You are right, but it is more scalar than it is diagonal, right? I mean, scalar is a more accurate description than diagonal because you are providing more information about the diagonal matrix. So it's more appropriate.
And in this whole domain, where would you put a null matrix? Because null matrix is so shrewd in this sense. It can be a diagonal matrix. It can be a scalar matrix, right?
Okay.
Sir, is it a good idea to define functions such as is diagonal, is scalar, is identity before the original function that is matrix type?
Yeah, you can do
use
that.
Those.
Correct. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll try that. Yeah, so that's a good point. See, scalar, I would say 0. Null matrix is more scalar, right? Because your diagonals are all diagonal elements are equal, right? It so happens that that equal element is 0.
Sir, I have again code and again I am passing 4 test cases.
Sir,
yeah.
I like just to view my
Scalar
code.
matrix side, so all the elements in the diagonal should be same actually.
Yeah, so someone was asking me something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. I would say null matrix will be covered, can be covered under scalar in this scenario. And my code is pasted in the chat box and it is working fine for all the test cases. So you may refer that one as well.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
So for this question, can we use this nested if block? Like first we'll check for diagonal, and then if it satisfies, then we'll check if m of ii is same. M of ii is same, then it's then return like scalar, and if m of ii is same and equal to 1, then get this identity matrix.
Yeah.
Can we do this nested if
Yeah,
block?
some kind of nested thing will work. Yeah. You have to be just
So can
careful.
you write a code which will be more efficient, like which will
Okay,
be
yeah,
best?
we'll do that. Yeah, so we'll write from scratch. So I promise that I look at Saktived's code also. So I will do
actually,
that.
I fixed it. Actually, I fixed it. It
Oh, you
is
fixed
working
it.
fine now.
Okay, nice. Okay.
I forgot to use multiple fors instead of I used one for and I put it multiple fields. There, it was an issue. I fixed it now. It was working fine.
All right.
Do look at my code also.
Okay. So anything that's not working, we'll take that first because that is interesting. Is this working, by the way? If it is working, then that's
Yes,
fine.
it does work.
Okay. Yeah, is there anyone whose code is not working?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the line 6, it is given like I is not equals to j. So what's that? I is not equals to j.
So I'm checking for every non-diagonal element. If it is not equal to 0.
Like you are checking like non-diagonal elements, which is I not equals to j. And you are checking like if the value on the non-diagonal elements is not equals to 0,
then it is a non-diagonal matrix and code ends.
Okay.
Else it will add the diagonal elements to V, and if V is equal to the length of the matrix, then it will be as identity matrix. If it is length of the matrix times the first element, then it will be a scalar. In all other cases, it becomes a diagonal matrix where the diagonal elements can add up to anything else.
I understand your line number 6 here, but after that, I didn't understand what you are checking for.
Yeah, actually, one doubt over here is, for example, 2002 is a matrix over here. This will be printing as identity, right? It won't print a non-diagonal because all the non-diagonal
No,
entries
it will
are
be a
0.
scalar. It will be a scalar matrix.
No, but here in your code, it will print it as a diagonal, right?
No,
because 2002.
It will print as a scalar because 2002, it will become 2 times 2. The value of V will be 4.
No, actually, we are giving only 2, 1, 2. Actually, in 2 by 2 matrix, in first row it is 2, 0. In second row it is 0, 0. So it will add up to only.
It won't be adding up to 4.
Yeah, it will add up only 2. Here it's 2 matrix and it is V also 2, N is also 2. In that scenario, it may print identity.
No, it won't print identity.
Sir, if
to
possible,
print identity, the sum of the diagonal entries should be equal to the first element times the length of the matrix.
Okay, sir, if please, can you please resolve my query using Euclid, please?
Excuse me. Have you take here trace of n, trace of a matrix?
I haven't thought into that much.
Yeah, so yeah, this both of you are right. So this is the trace, and what Saktivel points is also a valid concern, right? See, what he's saying is, what you are doing here is if your V is the trace, okay, let's use the terminology. V is the trace, is the sum of the diagonal elements, right? Sum of diagonal elements.
Yes, exactly.
So if sum of diagonal elements double equal to n, it is not necessarily an identity matrix, right? That's what Saktivel is pointing.
Oh, okay. So if it is 400,
Yes, sir. One entry
0.
can be 1 and
Yes.
other can be 0. Other one
Exactly.
can be 2.
Like if it is a 3 by 3 matrix, so if the first element is 1 and the second diagonal element is 0 and third diagonal element is 2, then the sum is 3. So
But,
it will detect it like an identity matrix in such case.
But instead it is just a
actually it is
diagonal
not.
matrix, right?
Yeah, it is just a
So
diagonal
actually,
matrix.
actually, the some of these elements diagonal does not come into picture at all, sir. I think. Basically,
No.
by definition, a scalar means they should all be of the same value.
Correct. Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about sum at all. I don't think sum is being discussed.
Yeah, I understand. See, last term same thing happened. So last term someone
Passed
wrote
all the test cases and the private tests.
Correct. Yeah. So this is not a correct code, but it is not too far from being correct. So
I need to do a little bit more correction.
Yeah. So I mean, it's see, these kinds of things are only interesting because it's very easy to come up with this logic. I mean, not easy. It's very likely to come up with this logic, right? And on the face of it, it seems true. And there is one very corner case where it fails. So yeah, it was instructive.
So if the diagonal entry becomes 0, then it is just a diagonal matrix, not a.
So if the diagonal entry becomes 0, it could be scalar also, right? So that null matrix, that case which we were talking
null
about.
matrix, right?
Sir, can you check my code, sir? I've just posted it.
Yeah, is it failing any test case?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, then we have something to debug. So Sanjeev's code.
Sir, can you look into my code also, sir?
Yeah.
It's failing one test case.
Okay.
My code too.
Okay, we'll get to that next. Okay, this uses 3 functions. Okay, nice.
Sir, also.
In this case, even it has passed all the private test cases. Will be marked based on private test cases if the test cases do not include something that makes it wrong. But now now we found out there is a fallacy. There is a mistake.
Yeah, that is a mistake in our evaluation. So I mean, we haven't been exhaustive. That's fine. I think that won't be counted against you.
Okay. In the end, the number of private test cases is what matters.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so this is
sir, else diagonal. Sir, written diagonal. After that, sir, non-diagonal.
Okay. This is diagonal. Else, I mean, here non-diagonal, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we'll do is just 1 second. Return. Okay, that is for next level. So let's. Since you have used brackets, I just use it for consistency. Okay, so let's understand the structure of your code. You're first checking if it is diagonal, right?
Yes, sir.
If it is diagonal, then it could be scalar or it could be identity. So you check if it is scalar. And inside this, you check whether it's identity.
Yes, sir.
If not, you know that it has to be scalar. If it is not scalar, then you know it has to be diagonal.
Diagonal. Yes, sir.
If it's not diagonal, you know it has to be non-diagonal. So this is very nicely structured code. I mean, it's longer than the earlier solution, but it is nicely structured. Okay, so now we are looking at is diagonal.
Is diagonal.
Okay, what are you doing? If you are looking at non-diagonal entries and it is non-zero, you return false. That seems to be correct. But why is this false?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so this need not be false. Right? I mean,
No, sir. If an element is equal to 0, so diagonal element is 0, then it also not a diagonal element.
it is still a diagonal matrix, right? I mean, non-diagonal element should be 0. That is all you want, right, for diagonal matrix.
It's inside diagonal matrix, sir, is 1, 1, 2, 2 element can be 0.
See, there's no. See, it is diagonal if the entries outside the main diagonal are all zeros, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it says nothing about what the diagonal entry should be, right?
Sir, also in this code, the like def
Sir,
is
in
diagonal, it's
mathematics, sir,
returning the string false, not the bool value false. Right?
Okay, so no, that is fine actually. That
Okay.
won't be a problem. Oh, okay, yeah, that will be a problem. Actually, that will be a problem because you are checking for correct. These have to be booleans. Okay, and this you can remove actually.
Okay, sir.
Please check my code.
Yeah, we'll come to that. See, else pass C. The other thing is, okay, we'll look at scalar b equal to the first diagonal element, and then if you're on the diagonal and b not equal to m of ij, you return false. This is fine, but why do you need this else pass?
Sir, we can remove the else part, but if, sir, first element second, it pass it, and then a second diagonal element is not equal to, then it will again return true. Sir,
No, right? Your true is outside the loop, no?
Yes, sir.
So you don't need this else, right? I mean, this else.
Yes,
else.
not necessary, but I written it.
Okay. So we add this. Now identity is okay. So this seems to be fine. Identity seems to be fine. Okay. Now let us try and run this. Take 0 positional arguments, but 1 given. Okay.
Oh,
so
sir, I not given the argument.
Yeah. So okay, for non-diagonal, you are printing it as diagonal. Why is that the case? For one test case, we are making a mistake somewhere.
So, sir, we need to check the is diagonal method, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Code in the code is, I think, this in function code is diagonal.
Yeah, 1 second.
Sir, the else statement should not be there.
Yes, sir. It's out loud.
Right.
The else statement should be in the straight to for. Intended should be straight to for. Yeah.
Very nice. That was the mistake, huh?
So can you explain the mistake?
Yeah. So we'll just make sure this works, and then we'll go back to the mistake. Okay.
Thank you.
So see. So if I not equal to j and m of ij is 0, right? Then you don't execute this. You don't enter this block, right? So,
yes, sir.
So when this fails, if I double equal to j, so when will this fail? Let's say one of the cases when this if condition will fail is when I double equal to j.
Yes, sir.
So in that case, it'll immediately go into this else and it'll return.
Return true, yeah.
Sir, one more thing. I guess. Yeah, fine, sir.
Yeah.
I would request that I have some different scenario of the code. So can you please show that as well?
Yeah.
So can you explain this code once again, please?
So here you are asking if the matrix is diagonal. Okay, and if it is diagonal, then you do one more check. You are asking if it's scalar. If it is scalar, then you are asking one more thing. Is it identity? Okay, and if it is identity, then you return identity. If not, you anyway know it is scalar because
not
you are
this part. So the function where you have defined the function is identity, scalar is diagonal.
okay. That part okay is diagonal. See, you are essentially checking for all non-diagonal elements. So, are all non-diagonal elements 0? That's what you're checking. And if there is even one non-diagonal element which is non-zero, you return false.
Okay.
So that is all is happening in its diagonal. Here since you already, the way you have written the code is that you already know that it's diagonal. So in is scalar and is identity, what you check is the diagonal element the same? Same as D, right? Are all diagonal elements the same as D?
Okay. Okay.
An identity are all diagonal elements 1.
Okay.
So that is the flow of code. Yeah. So Sumit.
Yes, sir.
Code I will.
It's on 326.
Sir, I have corrected my code to include the cases that they mentioned.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, sir. My
So
code is on
please to check my
326.
code.
Yeah, we'll do that also. Yeah. Okay, so you have collected all diagonal elements.
Yes, sir. I have collected all diagonal elements. And then actually, I want to focus on this line number 13 so that everyone can make use of it. Right. First, I check that if the non-diagonal elements are 0 or not. So if it is non-zero, then it will return a non-diagonal directly. Else it will append all diagonal elements in the list of D. Then that list I converted into a set. So that means it will return a unique thing only. And if the length of the set is equals to 1, that means either it is identity or scalar. Now, correct?
Wow.
Then in line number 14, I check that if that element is equals to 1, then it will be an identity, else it will be a scalar. Or if the length of that set is not equals to 1, that means we have different diagonal entries, then it will be a only diagonal matrix.
Right. Yeah, sure. This works. This is good. Okay, so you can make use of this also. So whenever you want to deal with something that is repetition free, then you can use the set.
Excuse me, I couldn't understand after line 12 from line 30. What will?
Yeah, actually, set returns, if you convert a list into a set, then it will return a set of unique elements only, right? In list, you may have the repetition of the elements, but in
What
set,
is this? What is this equal to 1? Why should it set return 1? What is the meaning for that?
No, it is the length of that set. It is the length of that set.
Length of that set, only one element?
Yeah, that means if in the diagonal matrix, in the diagonal list, if you have a same entries, same elements, then the set will return only single element, right? Then the length of that set is what? That is 1.
No, I didn't understand. Set will return unique elements.
Let's suppose D is
identity,
D is a list. Let's say 1 1 1. Okay, or we can say 2 to 2. Okay, all diagonal entries are 2 to 2. So if we convert that list into a set, then it will return only 2, set of 2, single element, right?
Set of one element with the value only 2.
Value 2, correct. Element 2 only.
So, but the return value is confusing.
No, the return, see, now if we check the length of that set, so what is the length of that set? It has a single element. So the length of that set is 1.
Let's say the diagonal has values 555, assuming 3 values.
Yeah, 555, right? So when you convert it into a set, then it will be a single element 5 only.
You convert that list into a set, it will give length of that will be 1. Okay.
Yes,
because all the other elements are 0, right? So
okay.
it's only gonna
no,
be
it will eliminate the duplicate values, duplicate elements, and return only unique element.
So in this case, it should be a scalar matrix, right?
Yes, if that element is equals to 1, that means it is an identity. If that element is not 1, that means it is a scalar.
No, but even for any other value apart from 1, if it is if a diagonal has all 5s, still the set will return only 1, right?
Yes, set will not return 1. Set will return the 5.
No, set will.
No, you are getting confused with the length. Actually, we are checking the length of that set. So length of that set is 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how will you know? For even for identity, it will return 1, right?
Yeah.
So how will you differentiate between identity and scalar?
Length of the set is different from the set's element.
Exactly. Length is different and set element is different, no?
No, I understood. What I'm saying is I'm comparing two is diagonal elements all 1 and diagonal elements all 5.
Right.
Yeah. Now,
so if the diagonal elements all 1, then in line number 14, what are you checking? The D0, correct? So the element will be what? 1.
If D of, okay, in that case, D of 0, you're going back to the list again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you are checking.
Okay,
first you are first you are first you are what you are doing is to first check whether there are unique elements. You are picking up the unique elements, and then you are checking whether it will be 1 or any other number, right?
Exactly. In the line number 13, we are checking that if all the elements of that list are same or not. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. If it is 1 identity, otherwise you will. Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sir,
yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
any last minute advice, because I have to switch to mathematics session. So to be any last minute advice, please, if anything else, others I will drop off and I will join the other session.
Last minute. Yeah, I think nothing much I would say. Just focus on functions. You must know how to write functions. That is very important because our questions will all be, not all, but many questions will require you to write functions. So it's very important to know how to write functions. That is the main advice, or no advice, suggestion. Apart from that, I think, yeah. So nothing else.
Anyway, the function will be directly given like this, right? Diff of matrix. The function will be given by default.
Yeah. Function will be given, but still, right? How? I mean, even if
there
it's
was
not given.
One case in one graded programming assignment, which they asked us not to use any inbuilt sorting machine functions.
Right.
So can I build a definition within the definition of a minimum or a maximum or a sorting algorithm, instead of again and again using the same sorting lines of codes? I can define it within the definition and use it within that definition itself.
You can do it outside the definition also.
Okay, sir. Right, as in before the entire definition.
Yeah.
Lines of code.
Your own function you can define.
Yes.
Totally, how many questions we expect?
I mean, yeah, that will tell you, I mean, before the exam, right? I mean, that's not very important, I would say, because really doesn't affect your performance per se. Sorry, your
just
preparation.
to check, I have been asked it, not to matter.
Yeah, I mean you'll know in some few days.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Swati. Your
Yes,
code.
sir.
Yeah. So this is not passing all test cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you are going through the elements. If I not equal to j, you are checking if the non-diagonal elements are non-zero, and then you are saying type is non-diagonal. And okay, so this is where you will have a problem. So you are breaking from your loop, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you one scenario where this will fail. You are breaking from a loop. Moment you say it is non-diagonal. Okay. So let's construct a non-diagonal matrix. So what will be a non-diagonal matrix? Let's say 1, 2, 3. Already it's non-diagonal. But then let me take up this case. Okay, so this is non-diagonal, right? This is supposed to return non-diagonal according to your code, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sir.
Now let's try to run this. And is it not running? Be a minute. I will just okay. So if we try to run this, it says diagonal. Okay, actually it is non-diagonal, but it says diagonal. So do you see what is happening? What could be happening here?
No, I can't understand.
Okay, see, you are breaking out of the loop, right? You're only breaking out of the inner loop.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you come back for the next iteration of the outer loop, you will be looking at this row of the matrix, correct? So
Yes,
this row of the matrix is diagonal, right? I mean, it is diagonal, scalar, identity, whatever. So if I not equal to j, then all the mij's are 0. Okay, so so there's no problem there. So you'll come to the else part, and in the else part, you will see that it m of 0, 0 is m of n. What is this n? Okay, so else part needs some more work, but see what you have to do in the case of functions is the moment you decide it's non-diagonal, don't break. Okay, so return. You can directly return.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you don't need to break that. And this part is slightly tricky. I need to look at it. We need to look at it in more detail. So I don't know what you are. So can you tell me what you are doing in the other parts of the code? What is the logic? If it is so, this is I double equal to j case, right? This is for diagonal elements.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have diagonal elements, what are you doing for n in range of length of n?
So first
It
I'm
is
taking.
checking whether the first is equal to the every diagonal element. Then it is scalar. I think so.
Okay, but see, you have in the process you have written 1, 2, 3, 4 nested for loops, right? There are 4 levels of nesting here. Okay, so that may be some slightly suboptimal, right? You must not need to do 4 levels of nesting.
Okay, sir.
Right, so see, if I not equal to j, then you know that you are already looking at diagonal elements. So instead of this, what you have to ask is, you can directly ask here, right? So if m of I
Yes.
double equal to m of say 0, 0, then so if it is not equal to m of 0, 0, then you know it's not scalar. I mean, you can't return identity right away, but or maybe you can. Let's see. So you can return that it is diagonal, right? Because it's neither scalar nor identity, and then you have to do. So I mean, it's tough to build up from where you left, but I hope you get the idea, right? You don't need 4 levels of nesting. You can do it with just 2 nested loops.
Yes.
Okay, so we can work on this and make. So one piece of suggestion is, be very careful about break statement. It will only break out of your inner loop. It won't break out of. Break is not the same as return. Okay, break is different from return.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, again, my 4 test cases are passing. Could you please look?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pasting my code. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you're also appending the diagonal elements, huh?
So actually, yes, I am taking the diagonal element into a list, and then calculating the trace, and this ND is the sum of non-diagonal element, as you can see in the first loop. So if the sum of non-diagonal element comes up to 0, then I can just say, right, it is non-diagonal. I do not have to.
Okay, but you might run into some problems there, right? I mean, have you given that the matrix is made up of only positive integers? So you could have a non-diagonal matrix where the corner elements are 1 and -1.
Okay, they can always negate each other, right?
Yeah. So that is one issue that you might have.
So sorry to interrupt, sir. Are we gonna discuss the rest of the solutions today? We are left with 3 of them.
Yeah, not today, I believe, because maybe some of them have left for the math session. And
yes, sir. I have a math session too. So when are we gonna discuss it? On the
we'll
next
discuss
session?
it on Thursday. Thursday or Wednesday next session. I think Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in this regard, I can say plus of absolute of MIJ, right? So I can use that.
That will work. Yeah, we could change this to, this will work.
Can you please, you can just check if it works.
No, so that is not the problem, because I think in our test cases, everything is positive, if I'm not wrong. So maybe there could be something else. Let's check what that is. Then what you're doing, non-diagonal is clear.
Else I'm taking the diagonal matrix, that diagonal list, right? I have taken all the diagonal elements and put it into this diagonal empty list. So now I'm taking one of those values in element, and then I'm calculating trace and the length of that list, right? And then if that element is equal to the average of those values, right, the sum by length, it must be right. In some sense, it must be, if all those values are same, right, 2 2 2 2 2, then the sum divided by the length must be 2. So the element, if equal to 2, then I enter this condition, and this, if this element is 1, I call it identity. If it is not 1, then it's scalar, else it goes out and return diagonal.
Okay, now what if my diagonal elements are 1 0 2,
So, 102, right?
Yeah.
So it will go to else and it will say diagonal, right? It will
No,
return
but
diagonal.
what is element is 1, right? 102. Now trace is what? 1 plus 2, right? 3.
3. Yeah.
Now element is traced by 3, right? It's 1. So trace is 3, L is also 3. So this is 1, and element is also 1.
Okay, so then we can remove this division and use the normal division, right? That returns the float value in this regard.
No. So I'm not talking about the floating part. What I'm saying is, if your matrix is 1 0 0 0 2 0 and 0 0 0, then element is what? Element is 1, right?
Yes.
Trace is 3.
Trace is 3.
This is 3. This is 3.
And length is also 3, right?
Yeah. So this is 1. So trace by L will be 1, and element is also 1. So I'll return identity, right? Instead of returning diagonal.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is the same problem that I think Rishi or someone else had. So yeah. So any other questions regarding this matrix?
Yes, sir. Sir, someone has explained this question, and sir, for using that method only, I have done the solution for the code, but I didn't get, like, the answer is coming out to be like correct, but it's also printing none to the next line.
Okay.
I've posted the code.
Okay. Okay, so you have to call the function right here. See, diagonal is a function. You have to call it using the parameter matrix, right?
Yes.
So that is probably why you are not back. Identity none. Okay.
Yeah, so it's printing none below the correct answer.
So okay, you should not print. Okay, so you should return. You should always return. So in the exam, don't make this mistake because it can be very. You might write everything correctly and then you might get 0 marks. So when the function asks you to return, always return. Do not use print. Okay, did you get that? Because it's very important.
Yes.
Okay, so identity is correct, but for one test case, it's for the non-diagonal part. Something is wrong. Is it wrong? Okay, so you are missing out on this part, right? So if it is diagonal, then you do all this. If not, you have to return non-diagonal, right? So currently that line is, I think, not there.
So, but return only stores the value in it, no? But it doesn't print the value.
It doesn't print, but we will print it. Once you return, we will print whatever you return. So that printing we will take care. That's why this line is there. You do not have to accept input or print output. So that we will take care.
Okay.
But not for all problems, right? Only where this line is there, you have to follow this instruction.
So if it was not given, then what should we print after that return?
No, so typically when we ask you to write functions, we'll ask you to return. We'll not ask you to print. So that problem will not arise.
Okay, so why this none was written like after the correct output.
Because you are not returning anything. So if a function doesn't have any return value, for example, if you say I am computing the square of x and I just store it and don't return anything, and if you run this, if you call square of 10 and if you try to print it, it will print none, because by default if you have no return value, then it means the function is returning none.
But sir, if we are printing like not in the console, but here where you are performing the coding part, if we are printing here print square of x, then what happens? Yeah, print square of 10.
It will print none because you are not returning anything, right?
So, but if we are not returning anything, then the value doesn't get stored into that particular function. But we can print, like we can print the output in the sense what we want. Like we want to print the square of 10, then we can print it like in place of return none, we can write here print square of 10 and
See,
print the value. No?
here I can print y, that is not a problem. But what will happen is if I am going to call print square of 10, it will print 100 and then it will also print none, because the function is not returning anything. Function is returning none by default. So instead of square of 10, what will be there is none. So I'll be printing none in the end also.
So can you write here in place of y, if you can write square of 10?
But you can't call, I mean, that would mean calling the function from within itself, right? That is.
So in print.
Here.
Yeah, in place of y, if we write square of, no, print square of 10.
But you can't write it, I mean, it won't make sense to write it within the function, right? Outside, okay.
Yeah.
But even there, you will get the same thing. You'll get 100 followed by, I mean, you'll get none. In fact, you won't even get 100.
Yeah. This return thing is important. And after
Yeah.
that, we can print.
After that, you don't need to print. If it is given that if this line is there, you don't need to print.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Functions will be defined first, then other problems will be solved. No?
Yeah.
If you want to use the function, then functions will be defined first, right? And then other codes will be written, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think that is the end of the session.
But you didn't wrote the ideal way to write this, or are all the ways pretty good enough?
Okay. See, I think most of them are correct. If you want the ideal way, I don't know. So how will I go about doing it is maybe similar to what others have done. So I'll probably have separate flags for this. So I'll initially, assume that they're all true, and scalar and is what is the other thing is identity, and then I'll probably go through each element. So since it's square, I'll use the same value of n, and I'll first check the non-diagonal elements, and if the non-diagonal elements are not equal to 0, then maybe I'll update my belief. I'll say that it is false, right? So if it is a diagonal element, if I'm looking at a diagonal element and it is say not equal to 1, then I would say it cannot be identity. Okay, and What else can I say from this stage? I would say that this cannot be a scalar.
So could you please explain this line? I'm not able to get this one.
Okay, so see, I'm looking at, there are two stages, right? I need to look at non-diagonal elements.
Yeah, like above two lines are good. That elif part, like.
Okay, so I look at non-diagonal, right? So once I am done with the non-diagonal, I come to the diagonal part. In fact, I will not use elif. Okay, let me stick to this. So this is for the non-diagonal part. This is for the diagonal part. So when you come to the diagonal elements, if any of your diagonal elements is not 1, then you are sure that it cannot be identity. Right? So diagonal elements, you are checking for identity. And sorry, this is diagonal elements, check for scalar.
Yes, what is this mij is not equals to m00, this part?
So for a scalar, see m00 is the first diagonal element, right? Left top.
Yes, sir, top left, yeah.
So for a scalar matrix, all diagonal elements should be same, right?
Yes.
So all diagonal elements are same means all of them are equal to the left top element. It's the same as saying that, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is what I am doing. Instead of, so every diagonal element should be equal to the first diagonal element for a scalar matrix.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So why have you replaced elif with if?
See, elif, okay, so why I replace that is, let's say I not equal to j. Okay, in this case, it's fine, but this could be a bit tricky, right? So think about a case where I double equal to j and mij double equal to, let's say, 5. Oh, sorry. Yeah, mij equal to 5. Then I will enter this part, right? I won't enter this part.
So shouldn't the elif blocks be inside a nested loop? Like not nested loop, they should check the condition that only after if it is a diagonal matrix, then we'll go to check for the scalar and identity. Because sir, if it is, because from line 13, it checks only the diagonal elements. In case the diagonal elements are equal, so they are a scalar, but that does not necessarily mean that it is also a diagonal element, because other than the diagonal elements, the other elements could not be 0. It could be some numbers.
Good point. So what I'll do is I'll modify it this way. I'll modify my final conditions this way, right? So, okay, I get your point. So you are basically telling me to add something like this.
I think we can do this at the end also.
Yeah, so that's what I was coming to. Let's see where this takes us, right? I get your point, what you mentioned.
Yes, I also get when we do it at the end. I also understand.
Right, so let's see if this works. So if it is diagonal and scalar and I'm going to say return identity. Okay, so So which should come before? So identity should come before scalar, or scalar should come before identity when you're checking? Which is a stronger condition?
Identity.
Okay, so then this is probably enough. So okay, so if it is diagonal and also scalar, then I return it scalar. If it is only diagonal, then I return diagonal. If it is none of these, okay, so do you think this will work? I don't know. Let's check. See, this is not optimal by the way, right? So since you asked me what I would have done, I just wrote it down. This is by no means optimal or more efficient or better than what others have written. But this is what came to my mind. Okay, so this is also a way of it. Yeah.
So one thing about if and elif. So when to use like if and when to use elif. If something is like before we have used somewhere like if, and then we are using next to it elif. It means like elif part is ignoring all the things, all the conditions that were present in if. Is it so?
Yeah, so you use elif only when you are like absolutely sure that only one of these three statements is going to be executed, right? Or if they are all mutually exclusive, then you can use elif, right? These are.
But sir, here you are using if part. This means like first if is contained in the second if thing, the if part, or is it so like?
Okay, this is a bit tricky, right? So see, for example, these two ifs cannot go inside one another, right? So for example, if this gets executed, then I can surely say that this won't get executed, right?
Yeah, yes.
Because if I not equal to j, only then you will enter. And if I not equal to j, I won't enter this part. So here, I mean, that
so
these two are.
Here it is what it's mutually exclusive parts come into intact. Like here it is not mutually exclusive. Means if it is a scalar, then it will also be diagonal. And if it is identity, then it will also be like diagonal scalar. It will be all three. So it is not mutually exclusive. That's why we are using if thing here. Is it so? Am I right?
Okay, so see, this is I am myself a bit like confused here, because see, these two parts you are clear, right? Why they are separate? They are separated out. If this happens, this won't happen.
Yeah.
But if this happens, let's say this could also happen. See, okay, here we can't argue in thin air. We have to concretely take up something like.
So in general, if you can tell me that what's the difference between if and elif, when to use if and when to use elif.
Okay, so this is a bit tough. If you want to know when to use what, how do I wait, let me think. So that first problem that we solved, right? So for example, let's say you have a phone number that has this whole 0, OL, and all these things, right?
Yes.
Now let's say I have my question states that. So let's say I write this piece of code. If zero in n, then n equal to not 0, this O business. So O in
yeah.
Then n equal to n dot replace O with
0.
0. Now here, for example, I won't use elif. So if let's say the problem statement asks me to replace both O and L, right? So forget about why I am using if else. You don't even need to use, but just for the sake of using it, so here using else will be a bad choice, right? Because I need to replace both O and L.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I mean, this, I know it's a very bad example, but let's say you have a modified scenario of this problem where.
So here you are trying to say if O in N, then replace this O with 0. And L if means else. In else block you are giving the condition. Else block means which is not, you are not taking the first condition. So that's what I meant, which I have explained it earlier. Like if the elif block, the condition in elif block has nothing to do with the upper conditions, then we can use this elif thing. And if it is somehow related to the first if block, then we can't use this elif part because it will somehow give the incorrect answer.
Correct. Right. So you could think of it this way, but I think I need to think a little bit more. I mean, it's a good question. When to use? See, if you need to do a sequence of things, right, and say 5 operations, and each of them is given by a condition, right? So you have 5 operations, and each operation has a condition associated with it. And if these 5 have to be done sequentially, right, and then I will use if throughout, right, and these operations, as you said, are independent of each other, right? Doing one of, so see, I will use if the operations are independent of each other, right, I will use elif or some kind of an elif ladder if exactly one of these. So I would are not just dependent, and exactly one has to be done. Okay, only then you'll use elif, if elif.
So what is this one has done?
Meaning,
so for example, like those grades thing, no? Like only one grade can be true if it's between a certain range of marks. Then
correct. Yeah. So yeah, right. That's a nice example. So you want to assign a grade to a student, and the grades can come in, say, 4 categories, say A, B, C, D. Then you'll have 4 if conditions, right? And the operations are dependent on each other. So a student cannot have 2 grades. So I need to assign exactly 1 grade to the student, and therefore you use elif there. See, I mean, you could use if there also, because
yeah, in lecture also it has been discussed, like if I was using this if block, and then I'm putting like if this marks is greater than 990, then assign A to it. And then when you're using another if block after that, if marks is greater than 80, then assign B. Then the marks, if it is greater than 80, sorry, if it is greater than 19, then it will assign both A and B. Both the blocks will be executed because both will satisfy that condition.
Right.
So elif is used to ignore the previous ones and go for the current one.
Correct. Yeah. So see, it's a tough question to answer, I would say, because rather than asking when I have to use elif, if you know what elif does, as you just said, only one of these things is going to be executed. If you know that, then depending on the context, you can choose which one to use. Right. So it's kind of tough. As long as you understand that if else if ladder, only one of the n conditions will get executed, I mean, that should be good enough, I would say.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay, so I think we are kind of done. So the remaining problems we do it on Thursday next session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
One little question may I ask, sir?
Yeah.
In the week 2, practice assignment 5, there a backslash is there. Password testing. Can you go to the week 2, 58.5?
Right. Thank you for joining. We'll close the session now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so once you have A, then the next step is doing B, right? Yes, go ahead. Okay, so now you obtain P. What you have to do is express beta 2 and beta 1. Yeah, beta 2 is not I was saying it what beta 2. I arrived at beta 2. But how to arrive at beta 2? It's not done. We have to arrive. Right? Where it was the base is still given. All base